Hi everybody and welcome back to my modeling channel. So today we're gonna see and review the kit of a 757 scale 144 made by Zvezda. So let's open that box and see what we have inside. So our kit is composed of a couple of sprues, of course. Like all the Zvezda kit, you have the options of putting the aircraft and the stand. Now here is the decal instruction sheet. So as you can see, it's format of a postcard basically, and it's in color with lots of little useful information. And on the back side you have the upper and lower view of the aircraft with the decal description. Now we're going to move on to the decal sheet, so it must be somewhere. So here is our decal sheet in a plastic bag. So great thing on that kit is you have the options of having basically the walking area on the top of the wings and on the empennage, and then the Icelander livery with all the small details of the aircraft as well. So we have a sprue with all the clear parts. And those clear parts are mainly for the passenger windows and the cockpit window. I haven't seen any landing lights options, but maybe that will come back a little bit later during the build. Now let's have a look on the instruction sheet. Instruction sheet is pretty straightforward. You have a description of the 757, then a very easy one. You, as most of the time, you have the options of designing the cockpit for the Zvezda kit. So it's a nice little 757 kit, then pretty straightforward. You have the options to design the aircraft with or without the winglets. So you should have that option. I will see later on. And you also have all the rest on the quite detailed actually nose landing gear. So now let's start with the kit itself. The first sprue composes the fuselage of our 757. You can see it's very fine lines. The structure panels are really nicely done. You have some more details. You can even see the, I don't know if you can see here, but you have the opening for the APU door. Now we're going to move on to the wing. Wing is composed of three parts. One part for the lower part of the wings and two for the upper side. Now we are going to move forward, and so we have a SATCOM antenna, as I can see, the winglets for that kit, and details for the cockpit, the wheels, the empennage, nose landing gear with the details on the struts, the wings fairing canoe, and the undercarriage, the main landing gear. You also have the option on that kit to basically do with the Rolls-Royce engine or the Pratt & Whitney. So you have both options. I haven't seen any other details, so I believe you have to design that kit with the winglets. There is no options for a 757 without winglets. Oh no, actually yes, you have that option, and it's right here. So you have both options with or without winglets for that 757. It's a beautiful kit, lots of details. You can see all the fine panel lines. I think I will really enjoy building that kit. The only things that I haven't seen is you don't have the options of detailing the flaps are the slats on that aircraft, on that kit, but that's not a big issue at the moment. So enough of talking, and let's start building. So we're gonna start this kit by preparing the parts. So initially I will build the fuselage and the wings, and then we're gonna have to remove all the extra plastic located on those sprues. So on this model I will not do a detailed cockpit. I will use some decals, window and cockpit windscreen. So I'm gonna bypass that part. And then so I will build initially the cockpit to have the wheel well, and then I will add some modeling paste to add weight on the nose to avoid to have the aircraft sitting on its tail. So I will do that, put the wheel well and the cockpit together, and then I will glue the wings together. They are in two parts, as you can see initially. Then I'm gonna let it dry and add a little bit of putty on that, and then I will be able to fill all the gaps initially. So after that I'll have to glue all the windows on the passenger windows, basically on the fuselage. So and after that I'll add, as you can see, some modeling paste. Then the plane will not sit on its tail. So then we're gonna glue both half of the fuselage together, and then we're gonna let it dry, and when it will be dry we're gonna fill all the gaps with some Tamiya putty. So I have to say that on that aircraft it was very easy to glue the windscreen. It fit perfectly basically into the plastic. So now what I'm doing, I'm making the intake of the engines, and then we will paint them a little bit later. Now we are working on the horizontal stabilizer, two parts, and then we're gonna glue them together. Very easy job to do. And after that we are going to start working on the wingtip. So on that kit, I will repeat that you have the options either to have the straight wing of the 7.5, or you also have the opportunity to do to add the winglets on that 7.5. So after filling all the gaps, it's time to do the wings as well, and there is a little bit of a gaps mainly on the wingtip. And of course let it dry, and there will be quite a bit of sanding, but everything was working very smoothly. I have to say that the quality of the windows were pretty nice, and most probably on the next models I'm considering to buy some masking tape for those windows and windscreen, and do it with the opportunity to have the open cockpit, which I quite like it, I have to say, and it gives an extra touch to those models. So it's now time to add the wing fairing, flaps fairing, sorry, on those wings. So they are in one part, just a bit of time of preparation, removing the extra plastic coming from the sprues as well, and then they are fitting very easily on those fitting. So after preparing those engine intakes, I had to fill the gaps with a little bit of putty, and then it's time to sand this down to have the proper shape, and then we'll be able to paint them. For that I use a dark gray color, and I will have also to paint later on with a mixed color. I will paint the fan and the disc as well. So the fan and the cone are different colors, but they are all different type of grays to give some contrast for that model. So this is quite easy. Then we will be able to finish the general assembly of that engine. So while the paint is drying now, we are going to finish basically to sand down all that extra putty, and I use a very thin line. Then we're gonna rescribe all the panel lines with initially a scalpel, and then later on a rescribing tool from Tamiya that I've been using for years. Then we're gonna put the horizontal stabilizer, make sure that they fit correctly, and then we'll be able to add the glue on the junction. Then we're gonna mainly do the final assembly, putting the wings to the fuselage, and then of course doing the final assembly require a little bit of putty. Then now what we're going to do, we're gonna add the fan disc to the intake of that engine and build the whole engine together, except for the anti-ice that I will paint separately and add later on toward the end of the models to the engine. So those engines were fitting very easily, and I have to say that they are fitting very well. So what you have to do, you have those two halves, and then you add initially the intake, and then a little bit of putty on the remaining parts just to fill up the gaps, but that was a very easy task to do. Then of course I'm gonna remove all the gaps by putting some more putties on those on the wing root. And then of course we'll have to sand it down a little bit later on. Now our engines are almost finished. I mean, the build is the final touch. We're gonna add those engines to the models, let it dry, and then it will be ready for the paint booth. So while this is drying, I'm gonna use a light gray coat of paint on the gear and basically the wheels, and then we're gonna add some metallic paint to paint basically the wing lips or the anti-ice, the engine anti-ice. After that, time to finish painting our model. So once I finish the wings, I use a Corrugator color, and it's a mix of metallic paint as well and the gray together. And once I finished that, it was time to do the final white coat of paint on that aircraft, so fuselage and the engines, and it went pretty well. So after finishing this, it's time to remove all the masking tape we put on that aircraft and to see how the paint went. And actually I have to say I'm pretty happy of the final result. Very smooth coat. And after that we'll prepare the landing gears. So the nose landing gear is composed of a lot of different parts. Basically you have the strut, the lights, and the gear basically itself is in three parts. So you have the main part, then you have the fork who goes in the wheel well, and then you have another part who goes in front of that strut. After that we're gonna use some metallic paint to paint the strut and also the landing lights to give that proper effect, and I will do the main gear as well with a little bit of touch-ups. And then we're gonna add some more. We're gonna start painting basically the wheels and the tires. So I will also paint the brake units, and those brake units are on basically steel color, dark steel metallic color. Then we're gonna add them together to our models, and then we're gonna start working on the other side. Now we are working on the gear door for the main landing gear, and the attachments as well. So when I will have finished to paint the wheels, then we're gonna have to do the final assembly of the landing gear, and that's gonna be pretty easy. But I have to say that I made some confusion. You have two sets on that kit. You have two sets of tires for the main landing gears, and one are with the brakes, and the other one are without the brakes. So I did that confusion and I took the wrong one, but I have to say that I managed at the end to make them fit correctly. So it was not a big issue, but just be careful on that if you buy that model. Just before gluing that, what I did is I used also some weathering panel lines finish from Tamiya to give a more realistic look, used look to that gear, and that reveal also all the panel lines and a little bit of the structure of that undercarriage. So fixing the undercarriage was not a complicated task, but you have to also be a little bit careful. Then what we did the exhaust. I used some metallic paint, a mix of dark and clear metallic paint to do the engine exhaust, and then we're going on the decaling process. So for this I use another brand called BOA.
They were in my decal box for many years, maybe probably 10 years, when they released, when Iron Maiden released that tool. And I was waiting, and when I saw that Zvezda made another kit, I couldn't resist. I had to go purchase it and made those beautiful, colorful decals on that tail. So those decals are a little bit thicker than the other one I've been using lately. But for irregular surface, they fit perfectly. I mean, the main challenge was the tail, but the rest fit up perfectly. And I have to say, with a little bit of water, if it's warm especially, you'll have no trouble at all to put them on that aircraft. So, and then will be the final touch-up. So this is the final result of that Zvezda 757-200. I have to say that it was a beautiful build, very nice kit, perfectly done. So far, it's all the shapes are correct, and I really enjoyed it, and I would not hesitate to recommend to purchase that kit. I hope you enjoyed that video with me. If you did so, please give me a thumbs up or subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you soon for another build review and another build video. Thank you for watching.